They must have had some big plans for this place.
Fear can be a tricky thing to nail down. From a storytelling perspective, it's more complicated than basic jump scares and grotesque sleight of hand, though most horror tales of an amateurish nature tend to lean on these staples of schlock entertainment. In order to really scare people, you've got to get inside their heads, and that's exactly what independent Polish game developer Bloober Team has tried to do in their latest release, The Medium. Whether it's the stunning and seriously disturbed environments found in the land of the dead, the screaming, groping, crying monster who shamelessly plagues you wherever you go, or the creeping and expertly revealed mystery of the murder of one lively little dead girl, the game is seriously invested in freaking you out on all fronts. Does it do its job? For the most part. But there's not a whole lot of basic modern gaming scare tactics here you haven't seen before. Its narrative is anything but perfectly realized, and certain technical shortcomings hold it back from being at all times eminently playable. But it's more than the sum of its parts. This could have been a huge disaster, this game. It's not, though, even if it is Xbox Series X's first and only true exclusive. Our hero, the eponymous medium of this ghost story, is a young woman named Mary Ann. We never really get the sense she's super experienced at this gig because many of her abilities seem to be first-timers for her. First time having an out-of-body experience, first time getting stalked by a giant faceless pan-dimensional pseudo-orgasmic demon with a serious skin finish. You know how it goes. The concept is cool, but what is it with modern horror games? Can't I get a moment's peace? Why am I always getting stalked by some giant monstrosity or other anyway? Whatever. More or less, the medium shortcomings boil down to this. The camera is locked off in old-school Resident Evil fashion, making navigation generally cumbersome and awkward. Additionally, puzzles and quest objectives are never as smart as you want them to be. The much-touted split-screen mechanic of dwelling in both the world of the living and the land of the dead is unique and visually striking, but it seems to be limited to the use of passing arbitrarily administered spiritual barriers, blasting demon bat thingies with an electric shield bubble, and slicing through large sheets of skin with a bone straight razor. A terse and limited story about shame, fear, death, and rage is continuously hampered by narration that tells more than it shows. And truly, the dialogue and voice acting try to keep pace with bigger games with bigger budgets, but never quite gets there. It's kind of a shame because there's a lot of scary concepts and dark emotional undertones percolating just below the surface. Moments of sheer terror be damned, Resident Evil and other genre master series are capable of nailing gameplay and story, so what's the deal here? The one thing that saves an otherwise freakish but mundane game is the atmosphere, which is rich, dense, and undeniably disturbing. It's hard to imagine the medium pushes the powerful new Xbox hardware to the limits, but the launch release is plagued by frame rate issues and some noticeable pop-in. Regardless, dense forests and a haunted Polish resort hotel are handled with style in both material and spiritual realms, which brings to mind a certain point of distinction. There are many instances in this game the hardware is required to render the world twice, and it appears to tax the new Xbox to some degree. So it's sort of understandable. Then you got this big scary demon dude running around scaring you half to death all the time. I mean, criminy. Once it becomes clear he can follow you into the world of the living, the real game is afoot. From that moment until the end, you'll never feel safe. Never. The medium got into my head in this manner, and as I said, that's the whole point. That's when you know you've got some good horror. A quick note, the game released on day one in the Xbox Game Pass, which is kind of a must if you own a Microsoft console these days. I probably should consider its complimentary nature against the final score, but I ain't gonna. Freebies or no, my integrity as a game reviewer is quite beyond... screw it. Jeff Bull Central gives the medium a 7 out of 10.